I went to Wilson High School, and I went to Harvard, so I think I did okay. I know there's a lot of people who think, well, I don't want to send my kid to this school because they don't have a track record of always sending kids to the most competitive schools. So you see a lot of people moving out of areas and going to Walnut or going to Torrance or wherever, the really competitive schools. But when I was at Mesa Robles, I was in the higher classes, the advanced math classes, etc., with 2 other students, and they were kind of like my peers. And their parents decided to pull them out and to send them to Sunny Hills, or I think it was Sunny Hills. And I decided to stay at Wilson High School. At the end of the day, they did fine. They went on to good Ivy League schools. They went, Amherst or Johns Hopkins, but I ended up getting into Harvard. And one of the reasons why I was able to go to Harvard was because I had less competition. That's a fact. So if these people had stuck around and competed against me to be editor-in-chief or captain of this or that, yeah, I probably would have gotten into Harvard. So keep that in mind. When you're pulling your kids out of the districts they live in to compete with all the other kids who can pull out of their districts, unless you're absolutely sure that your kid's a genius, keep him in the district. Let him be a big fish in a small pond as opposed to a small fish in a big pond. Okay, because Harvard's not going to take 10 people from Diamond Bar or Walnut, even though there probably are 10 kids there who are worthy of that position. So just keep that in mind, that let your kids excel right where they are, and they'll be fine. So that's it, and I just want to say one more thing. You guys have all gotten your census forms in the mail? Okay? Please fill those out. It's really critical, all right? All the information is confidential, and it determines $400 billion worth of federal funding, where that's going to go. And all of you need to fill it out, especially minorities, Asian Americans, who are typically undercounted, and it's important that our voices are heard, okay? So thank you very much.
Rigorous class, they know you're not going to survive in their school. But if you are not in IB, you have to demonstrate you were taking a lot of AP top class, so they know you could do well in their school. I think Jerry can tell you what exactly IB is.
Beforehand, so you can only pick one of those tracks you can to track from that, and they also have a lot of other rigorous work. Like they kind of force you to have 150 hours of community service for CAS, and you have an extended essay and internal assessments. So a lot of extra on the side work that AP students might not have to do, but you can be equally rigorous in both programs.
Any other questions over here? I have.
Preps you better for college life because a lot of the lab reports we do and everything, it's very much like the college term papers and stuff that you will do later. But I don't think that just because you're not an IB, you're like deficient in those things. You can still do them on your own. So as long as you have the will to do whatever in AP, or you're forced to do it when you're in IB, I think they look at that equally. So just because you're not in IB doesn't mean that you don't have those abilities. You can definitely still culture them on your own.
I think you still want to do some research, even if you're not in IB. You could still do research, and you still want to write some paper for it. So that, either way, in IB, they automatically require you to do some research, do a paper on it. But now you still need to do something about it if you want to go to the top school.
Any questions up front? Okay, here we go.
Widely known, and I think schools in the Midwest, they typically accept more ACT scores. But in general, I think if you take the SAT, then you're pretty safe. Most schools are going to accept the SAT. But what you should do is take both and see which one you can do better in, and send those scores in. Because I think now you have score choice, which we didn't have before, which would have been great. But you just take both, take practice tests in both, and see what you're stronger in, and then submit those. Community college for a couple of years, knock out your general ed, and then apply to a UC after that. You save a lot of money, and you end up with the same degree at the end of the day. Now, in terms of going to an Ivy League after, I'm not as familiar because not a lot of people went to Mount SAC and they went to Harvard that I knew of. But I do know that some of my classmates, they went to Mount SAC and they went to UC Berkeley right afterwards. So it's possible to still go to very, very good schools. And perhaps even Ivy Leagues. I don't see why you couldn't, but of course, they're selected to get in to begin with. So even when you're at a community college, you're going to have to stand out and do a lot of extracurriculars and things like that.
I think is that you need to make sure that the courses you take at junior college for the state or California school community colleges, that they're transferable. So you don't want to spend all the time that studying, taking those classes and they end up at UC or Cal State will not accept them. So you have to check with the Cal State or UC that you intend to transfer later on. Secondly, with the economy nowadays, I think it's a good idea to do that, because especially nowadays, because of the budget cut, UC and Cal State are limiting the enrollment. So therefore, not everybody can get into the UC you want or the UC you don't want. Same thing with the Cal State. Cal State is getting very tough to get in, especially Cal State Fullerton, Long Beach, and all the bigger campuses. So it might be a good idea to save some money and go to junior college, community college, and make sure they're transferable and then transfer. Now the one thing is that at least for Cal State Fullerton, I think it's happening for some other campuses also. If you live outside the area that they serve, to transfer from community college out of the area into Cal State Fullerton, now you require a 3.7 or higher GPA. So that may not be attainable if, just keep that in mind. That, I mean, if you can, for sure that you can get that, then it's not a problem.
Just make sure you get into honor program. Those are, right now, economy, they are cutting down the class. If you don't get priority to choose the class, it's really difficult to graduate from side any other junior college. So their college program allow you to choose class before any other people choose. So you get high priority to choose class, very important.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate the same point, is that community college is definitely more affordable. If you're looking to, these financial times, it's really difficult for families to put up the money expected for four-year institutions, especially at UC and Cal State. They continue to increase their student fees. But understand that there are a lot of other opportunities that that you can have that are the same as when you graduate from high school. A lot of people think, I can't get into an Ivy League school, I can't get into a top tier UC, or I can't go to a top institution in another state out of a community college, and that's not true. You can definitely do that. I know that we had, my wife was associate dean at Santa Ana College, and one of her students I can't remember which Ivy League school she went, I think it might have been Columbia, but transferred from her program, which basically she was below the poverty level, went to Santa Ana College, did so well that she was admitted to an Ivy League school for her last 2 years. And also understand that the requirements to transfer into like Berkeley or UCLA after, you don't get in the first time, right? Like I did. And then you decide, I want to really go there. Well, at the end of the day, the requirements are a lot less. I mean, I went to school with some folks who they just kind of messed around in high school, and they didn't quite pay attention, and they didn't come to these kinds of events, and they ended up going to, I grew up in the Torrance area, and then went to West Torrance, I went to West Torrance High School. They went to El Camino College, and they did well there, and then they went to Berkeley or UCLA, and I was like, man, that kid messed around all throughout high school, but he still went to a good school. So it's definitely possible. You should never give up on trying to go to the school of your choice.
Thank you very much. We have a question over here. Yeah.
I just want to know, is there any preferential treatment to the students graduated from the IB program? I want to know, for example, for the UC Cal State system, or for the IB.
I didn't know a lot of students who were part of the IB program. It was really never discussed. And in my view, as an interviewer, I don't look at IB and give extra points for that. And I don't know about the actual college admissions officers, but I think in general, they look at whether or not you're taking a rigorous coursework, if you're really challenging yourself. It doesn't have to be IB, it doesn't have to be that program, but as long as you're demonstrating that you're taking hard courses and that you're